Alfred, how are you?
Doing great. How are you?
Okay, yeah, I'm good, thanks, buddy. Thanks for doing the coaching session today. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure all the audience members will be appreciating to you sharing your story, and hopefully they can get something out of that today as well. Alfred, just going to explain how the session works. I know we've already gone over this, but it's just for audience purposes. So for the first half of the conversation, I'm just going to let you talk. You tell me your story, and I will do my best to stay quiet. I will ask a few questions here or there just for context purposes, but the floor is going to be largely yours. And in the second half of the conversation, I will tell you what I think. We'll have a discussion about it, and we'll try and get you on the road to recovery or wherever it is you need to be. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Cool, lovely. So I just need to ask, how old are you first, please?
23.
23. And how old is your ex?
She's 20.
20. Okay. And how long was the relationship, please?
It was 2 years officially, but we had a friendship for 3 years before that.
Okay, but 2 years romantically.
Yes.
Okay, lovely. And when did the breakup occur?
It occurred 2 months ago.
2 months ago. Okay, lovely. Okay, that's all I need at the moment from you, Alfred. So I'm going to hand everything over to you. This is a safe space. There's no judgment. You just tell your story, and if it gets to a point where it gets uncomfortable, you just let me know, and we'll go in a different direction. So, how can I help?
Well, I'm gonna start from the beginning of the relationship, basically. So before, when we
Sure.
were friends, it was good. We were good friends, honestly. I did feel like we had a good connection, good friendship, and yeah, I can't complain in that department. And then when we got in a relationship, it was going all good. And it was all good basically until we did have our problems here and there, but it was basically more like trust issues, stuff that would have happened with other girlfriends I had, like female friends that bothered her. And I would, she would tell me it would bother her and I would push them away, the typical. And after that, there was this one friend which really bothered her, and she says that that is one of the main reasons that she broke up with me, and she thought I was cheating on her with her and all that type of stuff, and it was never like that. So I just decided to my friend, look, I don't want to lose my relationship, so I cut off my ties with that friend. Then yeah, after that it was all pretty much good. Um, I went to New York basically to start living there, to work there, all that stuff. She went When I first went there, she went with me because she was taking a vacation as well, and it was all good, all lovey-dovey. It was perfect. But then distance came, and we lasted in distance for 5 months, and we had a relationship where it was basically we would see each other every day. We would go to the gym together. We would I would drop her off at the bus stop to go to college. I would pick her up from the bus stop. It was basically we were doing everything together, and we had plans. Like we would talk about getting married, having family, all that type of stuff. But when distance came, and I feel like it got too hard for her because she was used to getting all this attention from me and from having me all the time. Like whenever she wanted, I was there. And since I was working now and I was busier, but even though I was busier, I would still make time for her. Like I would text her while I was at work sometimes. When I got out, it was a ritual basically. I got out of work and I would tell her how my day went. And like I tried my best to be present. And basically, but it's not the same. It'll never be the same because we were distant. But I feel like that's something that affected her majorly. And yeah, then I booked her a flight to go to New York and we spent 2 weeks together. I was spoiling her like crazy, because I was working my ass off just to spoil her because I was thinking about the future with us,
Mhm.
basically. Because most of my actions, like I know it's now that the relationship is over, that I did lots of things just thinking about her, not about me. And I do realize now that that was a big mistake. But at that time, I was just thinking, oh, yeah, but I'm doing this for us because I know this is the girl I want to marry. This is the one I want to spend the rest of my life with. So I'm going to spoil her. And yeah, then let's say like a week before she was leaving, where I wasn't going to be able to see her anymore because I was going to be working, she broke up with me. And honestly, those days, the days after, it was just terrible. Like when the moment she broke up with me, it was horrible. I was sobbing in her arms, begging, please. You know
Yeah.
what everyone does at that time, because I was
Yeah.
blindsided. And yeah, then the next couple of days, it was me basically just texting her saying like, "Oh no, we could fix this" and all that. But it's like you say in the videos, they've been thinking about this for a long time and they're ready. Like you're not gonna be able to fight their decision with emotions. They thought about this too much. Like for
Mm.
them, it's the correct decision. And well, that lasted for like 2 or 3 days. Then I decided to go no contact until she left, because I'm like, look, she's gonna leave. At least let me give her a good last day, because that way we don't make the whole vacation about the breakup. So I did that. I mean, I did a good last date. We did lots of things. Like it was all good. And at the end of that day, she was basically crying, saying that this is so hard for her and all that. Because at the end of the day, even though she did break up with me, I do know that she loves me, and I kind of did push her away because we did have our problems in the relationship, and she did feel like it was too many empty promises that she would actually change and then would never change. But deep down, I was always changing when she asked me to change. But I feel like when the problem occurred and I did change and all that, she was still stuck on the problem. And for her, she never like let go of those problems. So for her, it was always the same, even though I was changing. And yeah, so let me go back to the point. Sorry, I strayed off a little bit.
Sure.
And yeah, I gave her a good last date, all that. She cried at the end of the day, and she said it was hard for her. I told her goodbye. Look, you taught me a lot. I do appreciate our relationship. It was really beautiful, all that. And then I left. And then I kept on with no contact. After that, like let's say 10 days later, she texted me like, "Hey, I gotta know how you're doing. I miss you so much, all that." And I responded calmly, because I was watching lots of videos at that time. And I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
calm down. I responded, "Hey, yeah, it's been tough too." And then we just kept on talking normally. And then boom, that conversation ended. Then a couple of days later, she calls me and she's like, "No, I just want to talk because I was anxious and all that, because my little brother, like he went out and he hadn't come back. Yeah, and I'm all alone in the house." So sure, I talked to her, calmed her down, and then that conversation ended. And then a couple of days passed and she texted me again and she's like, after we texted a little bit, she's like, "How do you feel about us getting back together?" And I was like, "That's something that we gotta talk to in person." And as soon as she said that, boy, I booked a flight. And 2 weeks later, I was over there in our home country, right? And yeah, the day I got there, we got into an argument because of something. And next day, after she told me, "Yeah, I love you, I'm trying to make things work," she told me, "Yeah, we need to take some time. And I feel like she said, I don't see a future with you, with the person you are right now. I feel like we should take some time. I do love you, but maybe now is not the right time. If we're meant to be, we're meant to be," and all that crap and excuses I have to give you. And then yeah, I went no contact again. And 2 weeks later, since we have the same friend group, we like every 2 weeks that pass of no contact, something always happens that we see each other again. So 2 weeks later pass, and now I'm driving with a friend, and in the group chat, she says, "Oh, can you guys pick me up?" I'm like, and then my friend's like, "Sure." And then my friend is there just saying like, "You see, she's trying to reach out. She's trying to reach out. This is her way of doing it." So I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So then I give her rides, and yeah, I was the whole time I was just normal, yeah, being indifferent, acting
Mm.
like everything's okay. And but it wasn't really okay. So next day comes and I call her. I'm like, "You want to ride? That way we could talk." And yeah, I give her the ride and we talk about the relationship. We talk about everything that happened. And yeah, she told me basically she never felt valued in the relationship. She didn't feel like she was enough. And honestly, that broke my heart, because it was like I valued you more than I valued myself. And what does that say about me? If I valued you so much, but you never felt valued, like that hurt. That broke me. And yeah, after that, I said our goodbyes again. And yeah, no contact again. Then 2 weeks pass again. And since we have the same friend group, there was a festival, and I was going with some friends, and then she tagged along, and the whole day she was like trying to be close to me, talking and all that, like flirting. And then at the end of the night, we make out, and then she offers sex. I told her, sure. At the end of the day, it won't change nothing between us. Like the problems are still gonna be there. So yeah, we could just have sex. And when I said that, her eyes started getting all watery and all that, like she was gonna cry. And I'm like, and then she said something like, "Aren't we friends?" And I'm like, "I appreciate your offer for friendship, but we can never be friends." And yeah, night ends. Next day, I call her because I wake up. I'm like, "What the fuck am I doing? I'm not gonna have sex with her. I don't want to have sex with her like this because at the end of the day, it's gonna be sex. I don't want only that." I call her and say, "Are you home?" I go to her house and I tell her, "Look, either you have me completely or you don't have me. Simple as that. I can't act like these past few months haven't been hard for me, that I haven't been hurt, because I have been hurt, and I can't act like everything's okay and just give you sex whenever you want it." And we started talking about the relationship, and I told her, "Look, I always thought that we could fix things, and I still do think, because at the end of the day, we both love each other." And we kept on talking about the relationship, stuff like that. And she was crying her eyes out, like, and I know it was like the real tears because it was an ugly cry. You know, you can't fake an ugly cry.
Yeah,
and
yeah, very true.
and yeah, we basically talked about everything. And she cares and she loves me, but I just feel like right now she's just confused and she's just hurt about everything and she's thinking about herself. Because one thing that she did tell me is that she's thinking about herself. She is finally choosing her because she is so hurt and she's tired of this. And lots of things did like happen during the distance, like her grandpa died, stuff like that, and that was hard for her. And yeah, so then after that, I told her, "Look, don't call me, don't text me if you don't want to talk about where we stand." I put my boundaries because that was a problem. Because when I was in no contact during all those times, she would text me, she would send me TikToks. I ignored the TikToks once I liked the meme, and then she sent me the meme, and she's like, "Do you have something to say?" Because it was something about relationships, and I just found that so immature, and I just ignored it because I feel like she was just looking for a reaction, and she was looking for a way of reach out in her own fucked up way. And yeah, it was always a way of gaining, like, contacting me. And the first time, like first weeks of no contact, she would be uploading songs, uploading like stories saying like, "Oh, only you could wake me up from this nightmare," stuff like that. And yeah, after that, I just had removed her from my followers. I stopped following her. I erased her number. I erased the chat. I erased her pictures. I just did everything that I could just to not think about it, because right now all I want to do is, like, I love her and I know that, but I know we can't get back together because honestly for me, the moment she left me, it was like I want to be with someone that's gonna leave me and that is okay with the choice of not having a future with me after we promised each other a future. Like if she did it once, she'll do it again. And yeah, I want to get back with her, but a part of me actually does want her to come back.
Mm.
Like a part of me wants her to want me back, even though I don't want the
Yeah,
relationship back.
I get that. Yeah.
And yeah, it's basically been that. Now currently I'm in, I think, 13 days of no contact, and it's been going good. Honestly, I do have a more open mind about everything that's gone on, because honestly, breaking no contact, coming back into no contact breaking, and all those talks that we've had, it does make you realize stuff. And yeah, now it's basically just focusing on myself. And as I said, going to therapy, started that, and it was good. It was a good experience. Honestly, I liked it. It felt good.
Good. Yeah.
Kind of like nervous, but I did feel good by the end of the session. And yeah, I think I'll make lots of progress. But yeah, that's basically the story.
Okay, buddy. So, what's your ideal outcome from this call today? If we could wave a magic wand, what's the ideal outcome?
Moving on, honestly,
Moving on.
because it's tough, like getting those thoughts. Like when I know she's in the same place as me, like I get anxious and all these feelings. It's like I know I want her back, but just seeing her, it brings back all these memories, and it just gets me so nervous and anxious. I'm like, what do I do? Like I want to talk to her, of course I do, but I know I shouldn't. And
Mm.
yeah, it's basically I just want to be able to see her and be like, oh, it's her. Okay.
Okay. Well, I've got news for you, Alfred. You're normal. Everything you just said there's perfectly normal. It's a perfectly normal breakup reaction. But just I just want to go back a step or two, just for clarification purposes. When she first ended the relationship, what did she say specifically? What I know distance was a problem, but what did she say specifically to you why she was ending that relationship? When that was when you guys were in New York, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what did she say?
She said basically, uh, feel like you're not changing. I need to choose
What
me.
what things specifically? What's not changing?
She said it was my attitude towards other women. She would think I was flirting or something like that, or like I was interested in other women. Well, in reality, it wasn't like that.
Okay. And did you ever give her any cause to think that? I mean, like, were you going out of your way to speak to other women, or was it just the case that a female friend was contacting you, and you were just replying, and you was just getting on with your day?
It was basically, yeah, the second part was basically, let's say someone will hit me up on Instagram, something like that, like a female,
Yeah,
and I would just reply casually, like have a normal
yeah,
conversation. And that's basically one of the things. And other, as I said, the female friend, like I would go out a lot with her because, as I said, she was a good friend of mine. I known her for a
mm,
long time, and we were always close. And yeah, basically that was a big problem for her. But as I said, I cut that out. But the trust issues that aroused from that, the suspicions, because she was like, "Oh, you're cheating on me" and stuff like that. Like, and there was this one time where we were having sex in my place, and she saw like some earrings, and she went ballistic. Like, but those were
mm.
my mom's earrings, and
Wow.
yeah, the most fucked up part. I'm like, look, you're going crazy right now. I'm gonna call my mom. I'm gonna show her the earrings, and I'm gonna prove you wrong. And I called my
Mm,
mom, and I told her, "Are these your earrings?" And she said, "Look, I don't really know." Bro, when she said that, I was like,
mm,
no, why did you say
damn.
that? But they were hers, and yeah, she just went ballistic with that, and that really didn't help the cause. And like when that happened, we went to a break,
Mm.
like it was a 2 week break, and then she came back, like she couldn't handle it. And
Okay.
she, yeah.
Was it always this way throughout the entire relationship? Was it always these bouts of insecurity?
Not really. It was just sometimes that they were aroused, because as I said, before we were dating, we were friends, and some stuff did happen, but as I said, we weren't
Yeah.
together romantically in that sort of sense. Like we were hooking up, but we weren't like in plans. We were just hooking up basically. Friends with
Okay.
benefits, no feelings attached. And but that was just for a year of the 3 years of friendship, the last year of the 3 years of friendship.
Okay. So
So,
when,
oh, okay.
yeah, carry on, carry on. No,
Okay.
carry on.
So
Sorry.
like when that happened, like in that year, I was still hooking up with other people.
Sure.
And she would tell me, like, look, you could tell me and I won't mind, because at the end of the day, we're just friends with business. But me and in my mind, I was like, this is a trap. She's trying to make you tell her that you're hooking up with other people, and she's gonna stop hooking up with you. Like that was my sort of thinking. I'm like, I'm just not gonna tell her. But then she found out, and that did cause her trust issues.
But you were single but you both were single at the time.
Yes, but we were hooking
Yeah.
up. But she got
Okay.
bothered that I lied about it.
Yeah, it definitely seems like when you guys were hooking up, she was definitely on a different level compared to you. And I think that insecurity is carried through to the relationship as well, because it would seem like that maybe at the time you had more options available. And because you wasn't choosing any one option, she's maybe thinking that you was doing the same thing, but that's not your fault. You was honest and open about it. You were both single. I don't think there's anything untoward happening there. So when you did move to New York for work, how long was that? How many months was that long distance part of the relationship?
It was just 5 months, and that's what fucks me up. It's like 5 months was just enough to like break it. It was like our relationship wasn't strong enough to last the 5 months of distance.
Well, I wouldn't go that far to say the relationship wasn't strong enough. I would say maybe. See, I think when it comes down to it, we have to really determine what constitutes a relationship for us. Now, for some people, and I used to be of this mindset, and I'm actually in a long distance relationship myself at the moment. And, we're making arrangements for her to be closer to where I live. So I used to be very of the mindset, I will never do a long distance relationship. And all of a sudden someone comes along and my mindset changes. That happens. But for some people, that's life, man. That's life. It happens, We have to roll with the punches.
Can I just do a pause right here?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, honestly, for me, like long distance, I don't really see it as a big issue because my parents, they basically did long distance for like most of my childhood.
Yeah.
So for me, I find it as normal because they're still together and they're loving as ever. And I find that just like a part of love. So
yeah, okay.
Like for me, long distance isn't an issue, but for her, it probably is because her parents have always been together and never done long distance.
Right, and there's the discrepancy. So for you, it's not a problem. For some people, long distance doesn't fit their criteria of a relationship, and that's where the discrepancy is. And so you add in already the natural insecurity that she already has. So that insecurity was already coming up when you were in the same country and living close together. And now you put a few thousand miles apart, whatever the distance is, for 5 months, all that will do is just exacerbate, make that even worse. So whilst I think that, yeah, I do agree. I don't know, from what you've told me, I don't think there's anything fundamentally wrong with this relationship. But on an emotional level, she can't take it. Now, for what we have to try to appreciate, that men and women think very differently when it comes to relationships. And I've mentioned this before in videos, and I've mentioned it in recent coaching calls as well, that women are security-seeking creatures. Now, you use your parents as an example, and that's a great example. Some people can do it. Communication is a big thing, and you have to really up your communication game. You have to find other ways of being intimate with each other because you can't do it physically until you get the opportunity to be with each other. But that's your parents from a different generation, maybe a little bit older. Yeah, maybe a little bit older than what you guys are now. There was no social media around or anything like that kind of thing. So the world is very different when it comes to long distance these days. So add on to that, she's only 20 years old. She hasn't got that emotional maturity. So here's where maybe there's a fundamental compatibility issue or incompatibility. And I talk about compatibility a lot. And for me, compatibility comes down to two things. It comes down to values in life, i.e., do you want children, religious beliefs, political beliefs, and all the X's. And it comes down to maturity. And that maturity means emotional maturity. And maybe it's just not there. And the other thing that stood out to me, and I was just taking my notes, is that I think what's happened here, Alfred, and maybe you're not aware of this because, I mean, you're 23. I mean, compared to me, you're a very young man. I'm 38, so I've got like a vast difference of experience when it comes to relationships between 23 and 38. And maybe nobody's ever told you this, but what can happen if you are giving too much to your partner at the expense of yourself? Then that can actually be unattractive, because if you're not turning up for yourself, then what can happen? They might start thinking, well, if he's not turning up for himself, how the hell can he turn up for me? And so that's kind of worked against you, because when she starts saying things like she doesn't feel appreciated enough, and you're literally doing everything you possibly can to make sure she feels appreciated, it's not enough, because there's somewhere along the line, there's a there's a hole in her where she's now outsourcing love and validation to you, and you can keep up with that to a certain point. And then, so let's say let's say, you know, out of 10, okay, we use the scale of 1 to 10. When you first start the relationship, she's outsourcing love and validation to you at level 5, okay, and you match that level. You can do that level 5. Yeah, okay, I can get there. Then that becomes normal. We normalize it. Then she moves up to level 6. Okay, you can match that. Then she jumps to level 9, and you can't quite match level 9 because you've got your own shit going on. You've moved to a different country to work. You're trying to think about the future. So you're planning long term. You're thinking long term. Okay, how do I make a future with this woman? But now, all of that love and validation that you were providing for her is no longer there. And because it would seem like that she doesn't know how to love and validate herself, and she's only, like, let's be fair to her, she's only 20 years old. You're only 23. So, I mean, you sound way more mature than I did at 23. So I'll give you that. Okay, so I think you're doing pretty good. But you've got someone that hasn't had the time nor the experience to develop that emotional maturity. Now, I would argue even 5 years ago, I didn't have the emotional maturity to do a long distance relationship, but lo and behold, I'm now in one. Yeah, so that's what can happen. So does that make sense so far? That this
Yeah, it does. It actually does.
It's just, this is just something that is so far beyond your control. And sometimes we can do nothing wrong and still lose. And that is the crying shame of relationships sometimes. So I think it's more that she broke up with the situation rather than she broke up with you. But for some people, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're 1 hour away or 5 hours away. It's still too much because that love and validation for themselves is not there, and there was nothing you can do about that. That's her problem. It's not for you to fix. So I think where maybe you've gone wrong, where you try to give her that love and validation, what you inadvertently start doing, you start caretaking, you start trying to fix a problem that is not fixable because it's not your problem. And I think that's what's happened. And in a way, you've thrown yourself on your sword to try and make her happy. But if you actually get to a point where you're doing everything for a woman, they will lose attraction for you very, very quickly, because that's not what they're seeking. They're not seeking you to fix them. Yeah, you can be there for them. You can cheer them on. You can give them a hug when they're down, and vice versa. But she has to fix her shit. You have to fix your shit. And you fix the shit that you have together as a couple. But ultimately, her problem is her responsibility. And I'd say the biggest problem from what you've told me is that she's not taking responsibility for how she feels. So she outsources it to you. You're now the source of her validation. You're now in a different country. So that source is very, very far away. And maybe you're the best communicator in the world. You're saying, I love you. I'm doing this. I'm working on this. I'm going to get you over as soon as I possibly can. That kind of thing. But if she's not mature enough to defer gratification for a few months or even up to a year, then maybe that this relationship, maybe it's the wrong time. Or maybe you just need someone that's more mature and more on your level. What do you think about that so far?
Well, honestly, I did something that stuck with me from what you said is she broke up with the situation, not with me, honestly. Yeah. And that kind of does make more sense, because after the breakup, like, she did feel like it was the right decision, of course, but she still wants me in her life, basically. I've noticed that, because she's always asking for friendship, and she always wants to like reach out. And when she's with me or when she sees me, she acts all lovey-dovey, like we're still in a relationship, and it's weird. Like, she still wants the perks of the relationship, but without having the responsibility.
Yeah, that I would agree. And no, that's not acceptable, and you did the right thing to say, look, it's either romance or nothing at all. You will not be using me to get over me. That isn't happening. So it's really good that you've stuck that boundary in place. But I think I think also what I'm picking up here, throughout the relationship, there was a lack of boundaries on your part. And then when it's getting to, so that's a lesson for the future. And that's a lesson for any relationship. And anybody that's listening, boundaries are everything. And you have to have reasonable boundaries. I mean, you can't say something like, well, look, you only see me, you do not see anybody else, you don't see any other guys, male friends or anything like that. That's an unreasonable boundary. A reasonable boundary would be something like, look, and I can just, I've used my situation as an example. When my girlfriend and I, we decided to give a long distance relationship a go. For me, I said, look, it's under the condition that within 6 months you'll be living here. That's the condition. Okay, because that's, I think that's a reasonable boundary, because otherwise for me it's going to be very difficult to maintain a relationship. And she agreed and I agreed, and that's a reasonable boundary. We see eye to eye on that. So did you have that kind of conversation before you went to New York? Say, hey, look, I'm going to get you out here in 6 months, or I'll be back within 6 months. What was the deal?
I did explain what I was gonna do. The plan was for me, since I was gonna graduate 5 months from December. That was the plan. Like, I was gonna go to New York, get some money real quick, and then come back, graduate. And then the plan was to go back and then work again until December, and then I was gonna come back and officially stay. But as I said, when she told me, what do you think about us getting back together? I booked that flight. 2 weeks later, I was already here. And that I basically changed the whole path that I was going to do, because I haven't gone back to New York. I'm still here. But now I'm just working here. And I'm trying to just get out here. Basically, just try to get the money here. It's not the same, but I'm working though. It's good. And I do feel better being back home than being in New York. Because honestly, that city is hell.
I come from London, and I've been told that New York is like London on cocaine. So I've never been, but that's what I've been told. So it's an interesting thing. So the second that she hinted at getting back together, you were literally on the next flight out. So can you see, right, even though that's a lot of people listening to this will be thinking, oh, that's the right thing to do, that's romantic, that kind of thing, right? But
don't do it, guys.
At the same time, but at the same time, it actually shows there was a massive imbalance in your relationship, that you were prepared to do all this stuff and you wasn't getting it back. And that can actually be unattractive, because there's no consequences for her. There's nothing to lose. She's called and you've gone running. You see what I'm saying? And that's kind of what's been happening throughout the relationship. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we shouldn't do good things for our partners. No, absolutely. We should be there for them, but under a reasonable circumstance. And a reasonable circumstance is, look, I've got my career. And again, I'll use me as an example. I've got my day job. I've got my YouTube, coaching people, drumming, gym, friends. I've got all these other things going on. So I have to make time for that, as well as making time for a girlfriend. So those boundaries and those expectations have to be communicated very, very early on in the dating process. Hey, this is what I do. This is what I like. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm not so good at. This is what I expect from a relationship. Are we on the same level? What do you expect from a relationship? What are your boundaries? Are our boundaries compatible? What would you do in this situation if I had to move away for 6 months of work? Would that be okay for you? Those kind of things. So, and also, it's a lot of the time when our partners are complaining to us, and I used to do this all the time, the fix it guy. And what I used to happen when I was in my 20s, I'd get with a woman, I'd fix her, and then she'd dump me because I'm no longer useful. I did that for about 10 years and kept wondering why I kept getting dumped. But now it's a case of, okay, I'll listen. I'll say, oh yeah, that sucks. I'm really sorry to hear that. Would you like my advice, or do you just need me to listen? So you offer that option, because a lot of the time when your girlfriend is just venting off to you, they just want you to listen. They don't want you to fix it. And if you keep fixing it, then you actually get to a point where you actually devalue yourself a little bit in a really weird way. Because I think men, we like to think we're natural fixers, we're natural providers, that kind of thing. That's on a biological level anyway. So, but it gets to a point where that can be too much, it can start becoming overbearing. And the fact that you literally within 2 weeks on a plane, okay, I'm coming, I'll be there, that's actually a little bit of a turn off. So
in my defense, she didn't know that I booked the flight to do that. I just
okay, but you still turned up within 2 weeks. So that itself. So what might have been a better response is like, okay, look, let's get on the phone. Let's see what a reconciliation looks like before anybody books any flights. Let's try and meet in the middle. Okay, what is acceptable to you and what is acceptable to me? And let's see if we can meet in the middle. And then if the terms are not acceptable to one party or both parties, and then, okay, look, this isn't going to work for either of us. It's a shame, but, I need and want this. You need and want that. It's no longer compatible. And yeah, I would dare say that a lot of relationships do break up because of incompatibility. And this for me comes down to compatibility, especially on the maturity level. I think you're quite a few steps ahead of her when it comes to maturity. And that's a shame, because from the sounds of it, you haven't done anything inherently wrong. And sometimes that's even harder to get over, because at least if you did something wrong, at least you could say, oh, look, I fucked up. I'm gonna go away and work on it. I'll try and better myself. But when someone's breaking up with you because of the situation, you're like, well, we still love each other and X, Y, and Z. We can't be together. But sadly, love is not enough. People like to think it is, but it just isn't. So, would you think about that?
Honestly, yeah, I do feel like I was in the point where I was giving more in the relationship than what I was receiving.
Yeah,
because I was doing everything basically in the relationship, and I would never receive any sort of same detail. It was basically, yeah, sure, words of affirmation, all lovey-dovey, but honestly, I never really felt like the effort was there. And is, as you say, as a guy, I do feel the need to, like, when she was telling me a problem, cut right to the source. She's feeling bad, okay, let's go to the source, let's solve this, boom, she's gonna feel better. And after the breakup, I read a book called I Hear You, I think it's the name of the book. And it's basically what you said, that sometimes they just want to be listened to, and after they give you their side of the story, you ask them, do you want my opinion? And I realized that after the breakup, I went in a like realization period where I was just trying to, like, okay, this ended because of this. Let's start listening. Let's start reading books. Let's start listening to podcasts. Let's see where I went wrong. Let's see what I could fix for my next relationship, or let's see what I could fix if we ever do get back together. But right now, my sort of thinking is, I'm just gonna fix things for my next relationship, for me. Because it's, as I said, I don't think we're gonna get back together, and I don't want to get back together because it's not the right. She left me basically, and it's not, for me, it's not the right relationship, honestly. And after the breakup, like, lots of things happened, and it's like she's a totally different person. And I realized it's because during the relationship, I had this, like, I idolized her basically. I had her up on the pedestal,
and that's the problem. That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem right there.
And when it ended, it was like, who is this person? Who is this person that is acting this way, that treats me this way? It's like she's a whole different type of person. And it's like, I feel like she's seeking more validation externally, let's say on social media, posting more stuff, posting more pics. And she's just trying to be, like, more out there. And honestly, it did bother me at the beginning, but now it's like, I kind of do understand why she's doing it and why she needs to do it, because honestly, we all go through. It's not like, oh, she broke up with me, she's okay. She's going through her own process, honestly, and I can't just act here like she's not hurting, because she has proven to me that she is hurting, and we had a long relationship. with plans, with future plans, because I do say like, oh, because I thought about future, but she was the one thinking about it too. She will send me pictures of rings. Oh, I like this one. This is the one that's gonna be for our wedding. And she will tell me, oh, I want to move. Like she will be telling me the future plans that she had as well.
Yeah.
So I know that it broke her heart having to break up with me because she had to save herself basically. And yeah, basically I just want to get better for my next relationship.
Well, I'd say your next relationship should be with you. That's the next relationship, and that's your forever relationship. Because if the relationship with you is not where it needs to be, then it will never be what it needs to be with a woman. You have to turn up for yourself before you can turn up for your partner. And that is the biggest mistake that young men are making today, and young women, and even men my age and women my age as well, and even older. They're not turning up for themselves. What do they say on every airplane? Put your oxygen mask on first before you help somebody else. Because if you're not healthy, if you're not functioning, how can you function for somebody else? So your next relationship, and always this relationship first, is you. You have to put yourself first. Even in a partnership, you have to put yourself first. I have to make sure, for as an example, that I go to the gym, that I eat healthily, I do my therapy, I do my recreational stuff that keeps me healthy, so I can be a good friend, I can be a good partner, I can be a good son, I can be good at my day job, and I can turn up for you here today. So it all starts with the self. And I
Can
think
I
what
ask you something?
happens, sure, go for it.
When did like this all happen to you? Like when did you realize all this? And when, because I listened to you and you seem like you really have a good relationship with yourself. Like you know really know where you stand, and at the end of the day, even though you love your partner, you always choose yourself. How did you
Yeah,
get to this point? Like what did you do to help you?
a lot of therapy, a lot of making more mistakes than I care to admit, learning from failure. Keep asking myself, why has none of my relationships in the past gone beyond 3.5 to 4 years? So the common denominator in everything I do is me, and the common denominator in everything that you do is you. So if the same shit keeps happening to us, we have to look at it and say, right, what am I doing wrong? And even if we've been dumped for a bullshit reason, or even if we've been cheated on or anything like that, the first thing we should try and step away from is the victim mindset. And I think this happens especially with dumpies. We have that victim mindset. And whilst I'm not taken away from how anybody feels, I know how bad it feels to be dumped, especially when you're in love with someone. But if we have that victim mindset, we never level up. So I guess what I've done through coaching and what I've done through therapy is to try not to have that victim mindset. Is right, it's my responsibility. I didn't want the responsibility of being dumped, but nonetheless, I've been dumped. It's now my responsibility to make me feel better. And that's what it comes down to. It's taking responsibility for how you feel, no matter who said what and who did what to you. It's your responsibility. Right now, you've been given the responsibility. You were dumped. You didn't want to be dumped. That was beyond your control largely. But nonetheless, you have now got the responsibility of making yourself feel better. So that's how you have to be selfish. And it doesn't happen overnight. And it's an ongoing process. It's not, me and my girlfriend, we had quite an intense conversation about something the other day. And even though, like, going through that conversation, I felt I was in the right. Like, when you are putting your argument across, you are going to think that you're correct. But after it was all said and done, and we're like, okay, look, this is how things are. Let's just move on. Let's put it. We've dealt with it. Put it behind us. I had to take a step back and say, wow, actually, no, I didn't handle that the best way I could. Maybe I was a little bit jumping the gun, and why was I feeling that way? So that's taking responsibility and actually telling her, hey, look, I'm sorry that I should have dealt with it this way. And that's okay. It's okay to have arguments in relationships. It's okay to fight. It's how well you fight. It's actually being quick to do maintenance rather than pointing the finger. And that takes a lot of self-work, because when someone says, hey, look, what you're doing, please don't do that, it's really pissing me off, we feel attacked because maybe it threatens our identity, and something threatens our identity, we will die to protect it. But what we have to do is take a step back and try to look at it from the other side without losing our belief, if that makes sense. So you can say, right, okay, yeah, all right, I was a little bit of a dickhead in that. I shouldn't have said that. I could have said it this way. You know, I can understand why they got hurt that way or why they misunderstood that. And you simply say, look, I'm sorry, it won't happen again. And I'm working on it. So she took responsibility for her side of the debate. I took the responsibility for my side of the debate. And it was squashed. You know, so that's where it comes from. It's a lot of work. To answer your original question, it's a lot of work, and it's ongoing, and you're going to make more mistakes than you ever care to admit, and that's okay.
I do thank you very much for those words, honestly, because sometimes it's good knowing that it's a process, because as I said, I see you and I'm like, wow, this man, he knows what he wants. He's there. And it's good knowing that you went through the same thing as I did, and that you made it through. And you just got,
as will you. You'll get through as well. I promise you.
Thank you. I do thank you.
Yeah, you absolutely will. I think you're already doing a lot of positive steps already. Yeah. And look, going to therapy, you've done that on your own. That takes a lot of courage and it takes a lot of balls. Everyone gets, when I tell people, look, you need to go to therapy, they're like, you know, I'm in an iron, because therapy makes us look at the bits that we don't like. It's looking at those darkest recesses in our minds and in our hearts and our souls that we buried a long time ago because we've got childhood trauma, and everyone's got childhood trauma. No one gets out of childhood unscathed. We can have the best parents in the world, but they get things wrong. Maybe they were too loving. Maybe they wasn't loving enough. Maybe they was working too much. Maybe that one day they was just in a bad mood because they had a bad day and they shouted at us, and that causes the trauma. It happens, and that follows us into adult relationships. So we have to go to therapy. You've asked for coaching today. That's another powerful step. You've been prepared for me to record this and put it on my channel. That's a powerful step. That's vulnerability, and there is power in being vulnerable, because you're basically saying, look, I know I could get hurt, but I'm okay with that, because I know if I go through this process, I will be much, much better off. And I'm still going through the process, still learning. And that's what we have to keep in mind with anything in life. There's always something to learn. There's always another book to read, you know? So I think, look, keep doing what you're doing. Get on your purpose. Yeah, it seems like you focus on your education and you focus on your career. That's a great starting point. Get on that. But let me ask you this: what are you doing outside of work and education? What do you do for you? What do you do for fun?
Gym. I'm a gym rat.
Yeah, because same here.
I'm going out more with my friends, honestly.
Good.
Speaking more to them, hanging out more with them. Other than that, it's basically work and gym.
Okay. Yeah. What's the last thing you did that made you uncomfortable? And you can't say therapy and you can't say this coaching session.
The last thing I did that made me feel uncomfortable, I don't really remember, to be honest.
Right. Okay. So that's the task I'm going to set you. I'm going to set you a few. I always try to give my clients a few tasks. So I want you to find something that's going to make you uncomfortable. Now, it doesn't have to be anything crazy. It could just be you're going to go and volunteer at the local dog shelter or soup kitchen or whatever. Okay. It could be something as simple as that. It could be something as simple as you're going to take up a new hobby, go learn an instrument, or go to a new class in your spare time. It could just be you're going to go and talk to a random girl on the street. Doesn't matter what it is. Okay. I just want you to get out of that comfort zone, because work, education, gym, friends, that all becomes comfortable very quickly. So we need to be doing things that I'd say at least every 3 months. We're going to do something that just puts us in a slightly uncomfortable situation, because like going to the gym, how do you grow muscle? You always push that 1% more than you're capable of. Yeah. So If you want to get your bench press up to 200 pounds or 250 pounds, that means most sessions you've got to put half a pound extra on the bar. You've got to put that one more pound on the bar, which feels like you're being crushed. Yeah, you know that feeling. You know that feeling when you're doing a maximum rep. It feels like the world's about to fall out of your arsehole. Yeah, because you're being crushed. It's a controlled crush.
You put that one extra pound and you're like, yeah, sure, I could do this.
Yeah.
And that one extra pound is enough to just make you not want to do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's that one extra pound pushes your body 1% beyond its capability. Your body then adapts. Okay, you are not good enough, get stronger. And then that extra pound in a few weeks becomes, well, I can do this. I can do 10 reps on this now. Cool. All right, let me put another pound or another 5 pounds on. And that's progressive overload. And we have to do the same in life. It's progressive overload. So we have to do something that makes us, if we're going to grow, just like if you want to grow in the gym, you have to do that 1% extra. And if we want to grow mentally and emotionally, spiritually, whatever you want to call it, we have to make ourselves uncomfortable. That means doing therapy. That means reading books that are going to make us uncomfortable, because I try to read books that question my view on the world, that question my philosophy. I try not to read it's good to read books that sort of, how can I put it, validates my position, but that's an echo chamber. You need to start looking at things. Okay, let me go and read something that's either slightly outside of what I do, or has a different take, or actually contradicts everything that I do, and let me see if I can assimilate that. And one thing you'll notice about my content on YouTube is that a lot of the time I go against a lot of the advice out there. I'm like, guys, I don't know if your ex is coming back. Fuck the 30-day rule. Doesn't exist.
Breaking.
You know? Break. Yeah. Exactly. So, and so I try to have that kind of mentality, because we need to know the truth. And the truth is, nothing will get done unless we do the work. Nothing will get done unless we put the effort in. That is the truth of the matter. And that's the same with a breakup. If we want to get over breakups, we have to do the fucking work. And it's hard. It's hard. And you will have great days. You will have rotten days. You'll have so many bad days. It's unreal. And where you've got a text message written on your phone, ready to press the send button. Been there, done it. Didn't actually text, but I've had the message written out many, many times in the first year of the breakup. And honestly, it took me close to 2 years to get over it, to be completely like, okay, I'm good. I'm loving life now. And so this could be a gift for you, being single for a little bit and just focusing on your purpose, focusing on the relationship with you, will lead you to better women, will lead you to better friendships, will lead you to better jobs and better hobbies and stuff like that. Because when you're confident in yourself, when you're comfortable with yourself, you're bulletproof, because then no one can take you off that purpose. No one can take you off center. And that is one of the most attractive things to a woman. Wow, that guy is on his purpose. He knows what he's doing. He's got a direction. I want to go and talk to that guy. That's the guy I want to be with, because he's providing safety. I feel safe with him. He's providing security. He's providing a way forward, that kind of thing. That's what attracts people. So it's a selfish process, but once you're on that process, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And also, like, what a lot of people don't realize is that it can open up so many wonderful paths to you. And you think about, and I've said this to many clients before, you think about what had to happen in my life and in your life for me and you to be talking today. Just think about what had to happen for that, statistically, for that to happen. I had to go for a breakup to start a breakup channel. You had to go for a breakup to actually be here talking to me today. So you see how weird and wonderful the world can be. I met my girlfriend through my YouTube channel. So how ironic is that? My YouTube channel, which was a reaction to my last breakup, led to my current partner.
A blessing in disguise, basically.
Yeah, think about it. So if you start getting out there, volunteering, starting classes, new hobbies where there's going to be new people there. I'm not saying that the first day you turn up, you're going to meet the woman of your dreams. No, forget that. You're there for yourself. But it will open the world to you. The world is bigger than your ex-girlfriend. And it's weird and it's wonderful, and you never know where it might go. And you might just look back in a year's time thinking to yourself, that was the best thing that happened to me. That had to happen for me to get my head out of my arse and level up. As much as, and you can say to yourself, as much as I love that woman, I can see it right now. As much as I loved my ex, as much as I didn't want that breakup, it led to where I am now, and I would not change anything because I'm in a much better place. And that's the mindset. For anybody that's listening, that's the mindset. The breakup fucking sucks. I get that. It's horrible. We don't want it. But if we embrace the pain, okay, if we use the gym analogy, you know what it feels like to be, when your muscles feel like they've got battery acid inside them. You know that discomfort is going to make your muscles bigger. It's going to make them more durable, stronger. You're going to look better in your clothes. You're going to feel more confident. So here's the crazy thing. We're willing to put up with the physical pain of the gym, but we don't want to face the mental pain or the emotional pain of a breakup. But if we turn and face it, no matter what's coming. So right, okay, come at me, bro. No matter what's coming, I'm gonna face it. Yes, you're gonna knock me down, but I'll get back up. I'll get stronger. You'll knock me down another 100 times, but every time I'm gonna get back up until one day that breakup will no longer knock you down, because you become so strong, you become so resilient to it. You think, you can't hurt me anymore. And that's it, man. That's the mindset. And you started. You're already doing good. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
So that answer your questions, yeah?
Yeah, it's really been helpful. And I do just want to say thank you for your videos and for helping people like me in heartbreak situations, because honestly, when the heartbreak happens, and I'm sure lots of your viewers probably relate to this, the first thing we do is, how's it go with breakup? How do we get them back? All that. We search on YouTube, no contact, all that. And trust me, I watched so many videos on other channels, but when I found your channel, you were so real, and you said the things truthfully. You said them how they were realistically. Look, forget about getting back with your ex, focus on yourself, level up. And that's what I loved about your channel. And that's why I even reached out and I accepted to do this video and let you record and put it on your channel, because I find it so helpful the way you present the idea. Because these other YouTube channels, not gonna say any names because we're not gonna sponsor them for free. And these other YouTube channels, they always say the things with a hint of like, yes, this is gonna work. You're gonna get your ex back. You say it like, look, you might get them back, you might not. But at the end of the day, focus on yourself. And I find that that is the most important aspect of this, because you're not trying to sell something. You're not trying to like sell, let's say, a coaching plan or something like that. You're just trying to help people out there because you were part of the group that was out there suffering from a breakup. And I find that admirable, honestly, and very helpful. And I do thank you.
Appreciate it, man. And it's my pleasure. It really is my pleasure. And it's that's all that's what it's about, is just, I pretty much say this in every video, it's getting you through as easy as possible and as healthily as possible is what it comes down to. And it's my hope that people don't reach out for a coaching session. It's my hope that the videos are enough. That's it, man. And it's my hope, as much as I've enjoyed this conversation today, and I would happily have a casual conversation, probably it's my hope that we don't have to talk this way again, because I'm hoping that this is enough for you. And that, right, cool, I've just pointed you in the right direction. Right, go. I've shown you the door, you've got to walk through it now. That's what it comes down to, man. So, but also give yourself credit that you've engaged your brain enough to say, right, okay, yeah, maybe they don't come back, so let me crack on with life, let me get on with it now, and I'm going to do something positive. They do come back, great, I will then make a decision. I will then decide if I'm going to let this person back in my life. Because if he does reach out to you, Alfred, if she does come back, then you're in it because you've done the work and you are doing the work. You're then in the position of saying, right, okay, I will decide if I let you back in. I will decide if I let you sit back at my table, because my expectations of a relationship now are much higher, because the expectations of myself are much higher because I've done the work. And most dumpers do not go away and do the work, because most dumpers do not see their part in the breakup. I don't see that they got things wrong as well. And I have no doubt that if your ex was to call you right now, she probably wouldn't see where she went wrong or the lack of maturity on her part. And that's okay. You just have to be wise enough to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but that does not work for me. I'm sorry, but and you can flip the argument on her now. I choose me, because that's what she was batting you over the head with. I choose me. That's what she was saying. Okay, that's fine. But I choose me as well. So take care. Have a good life. Bye bye. That's it, man. The willingness to walk away is powerful. Yeah, and it can be painful, but what everyone needs to realize is that any relationship can end at any time by anyone for any reason, and we have to treat it that way. We get very complacent and we get very comfortable. And that's when relationships start going weird and they start ending, unfortunately. But I'm gonna have to start wrapping this up, Alfred, because I've got another call in a little bit. But have you got everything that you needed from this call today?
I got more than everything I needed. I do. Thank you.
Okay, I'm glad to hear it, man. And listen, you're gonna be fine. Keep doing what you're doing, man. And look, I'm gonna recommend a book for you. I want you to go and download or read or listen to it on Audible. No More Mr. Nice Guy. I've mentioned it a few times. No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's the best self-help book for men out there, and I even recommend women to read it because it will give them better insight into men. Okay, and what No More Mr. Nice Guy teaches is setting essentially healthy boundaries for yourself, healthy boundaries for your partner, and also how to show up correctly as a man for your partner. So you're not doing the caretaking, you're not doing the fix-it role. You're there, you're supportive, but you're also showing strength and leadership, if that makes sense. You're providing that security that a woman naturally seeks, and some women have disagreed with me on this past, but on a biological level, when a woman gets pregnant, she is very, very vulnerable. Okay, women have got a lot more to lose when it comes to intimacy, when it comes to sex, because they can get pregnant. So that biological driver is inside them. Okay, if I get pregnant, I need protection. Yeah, that's the biological caveman survival mechanism that we all have inside us. So that's what women will naturally be more attracted to. Okay, this guy, he's got his shit together, he's on his purpose, his finances are sorted out. You don't have to be rich or anything. It's just like you can pay the bills, basically. You're out there grafting, you're out there earning your bread. And when she does get pregnant, she's going to be provided for and protected. So that's what No More Mr. Nice Guy is about. It's about taking away this, should we say, fix-it mentality, and we're replacing it for a supportive mentality. Okay, look, I hear you. How do you want me to assist you with this? How can I be of help? Okay, and then you can say, well, look, that's not something I can personally help you with, but I can listen and I can cheer you from the sideline, but only you can go and do the therapy. So it's keeping yourself accountable, but it's also keeping your partner accountable at the same time, whilst being supportive. So I think that book would be very, 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 very beneficial for you. And if you have any questions on it or anything like that, and you want to talk about it, drop me an email and we can talk about it.
Perfect.
Okay, man.
By Dr. Robert Glover.
Dr. Robert Glover. Yeah, and check him out on YouTube as well. Dr. Robert Glover he's the godfather. He speaks so much sense, and that book literally changed my life. It actually sort of shaped a lot of what I do now. And it's not just that one, but it's not just that one book. There's loads of other books, but I don't want to overwhelm you. But it all started with that book. So a friend of mine recommended it to me. It's a hard read because wow, I'm making all these mistakes with my relationships, And yeah, I dare say I made a lot of those mistakes in my last relationship, and probably led to the breakup. For being totally honest with you. So, but anyway, man, I must get going now. So look, I really appreciate your time today, and you're going to be fine. I promise you, you'll be okay. So keep doing what you're doing, and you'll get there.
Thank you very much, and
You're
hope
welcome,
you have a
buddy.
good night.
You too, buddy. Take it easy. See ya.